Do you understand your mission here? So you told that you choose to do it. What is your mission, if you can say?
Well, I think that, to try and characterize a mission is really difficult to do. You see, what was happening in my life up to that point is that my psychic ability was becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. I had just turned 40 years old, and for some reason, it just started getting stronger and stronger, and I started helping people with their illnesses, basically. That's where I focused my attention. And the person that I was married to that didn't want to go to Russia, she also thought all the UFO stuff was a bunch of foolishness. And me trying to help another person to heal them, who do you think you are? Or you think you're God or something? You're special. You're crazy. And I got to the point to where this is getting stronger, and I'm getting this kind of response from my wife saying this to me. So I was at a crossroads. I didn't know what to do. And, I've been married for 18 years. Just didn't know what to do. So I was in Peru by myself, with my group of people, of course, but by myself. And I was very uncertain about what my next step in life would be. Because I knew intuitively I was here for a reason. I'd been already told this by a number of psychics, and I'd already been told this by Zoe and others like him. So this wasn't new information to me. It was like, I know that I have a reason and a purpose. There's something I'm supposed to be doing. And I think it has to do with the healing arts, because I'm very good at it. It's just very natural for me. But now I'm being made fun of and laughed at, and I couldn't take that. I didn't like it. So I had to come up with a solution. And when I had this experience, these people showed up at that critical moment when I guess I needed someone to give me permission to just do what I came here to do. And that's to be a healer. And they told me it was up to me, that I could choose to just do what I'd been doing. It's up to me to make that choice. So I chose. And as a result of that, a whole series of things occurred. One of them being, I met up with an old man. He's a shaman from Lake Titicaca, Aymara shaman. He read the coca leaves, and he told me my purpose for being here was to help people. And he said that you're going to get a divorce. Now, I don't know this guy from anybody. He says you're going to be divorced in 6 months, and your business with working with electricity, that will close in 1 year or less. I wasn't really thinking too much about divorce, and I certainly didn't want my business, after running my business for 20 years, to go away. But no, he says it's going to close. I'm going to get a divorce, and that there's a woman with hair like gold who lives in the heart, and she's waiting for me now that I've made my decision. He didn't know anything about this decision I'd made the night before. And who is this woman with hair like gold who lives in the heart? That sounds like a metaphor. So he went up to a map, and he taps with a stick on the map, and he says, you're going to meet her here. That was Kansas City, Missouri. I said, is that where she lives? Kansas City, Missouri? Why would I go to Kansas City, Missouri? No, she lives here. And he pointed to southeast eastern Nebraska, a city called Lincoln, Nebraska. This is where she lives. That was crazy.
So this prediction has been realized.
Yes, because when I got back, I decided I was going to have a break from my wife. I was going to, separate rooms, all of this, just a break. Because there was a lot of things that happened I haven't told you about. But she was really angry. She threw the mail at me that she'd been saving. Had been gone for 2 weeks. The one letter that when she threw it, it stuck inside my shirt here. I pulled it out and looked at it. I had airplane tickets and hotel accommodations. I was going to speak at a conference in Kansas City. So I went. And while I was there were many people, and I was very, very uncomfortable emotionally and spiritually and mentally because of all this trouble at home. It was a difficult environment, very stressful. And I was in Kansas City by myself. And after I gave my lecture, and after you talk, then people come and say hello to you. As after that as well, I was back at a booth. They give everyone a booth so you can sell things. I had nothing to sell, so I just sat at the booth, just talking to people. And this woman walks up, smiling, and she reaches out her hand because her friends had told her to come meet me. When I took her hand, everything else was gone, just her and I. There was electricity running through my body like I'd never felt. There was no sound. The conference was gone. There was nothing except the two of us standing there in this place. And it was unbelievable. And she was the one with the golden hair. When I let go of her hand, it all just came back immediately. I only knew her name was Kathy. I didn't know anything else about her. But I eventually found out that she was from Lincoln, Nebraska. And of course, as you might guess, we are now married and have been for going on 23 years. She's the one who is my hero because she's the one who said, you don't have to be afraid any longer. You can do this. You have something special. Help these people. That's what you're supposed to be doing, is helping people. And I was afraid to do it. I was nervous about it. She basically took me by the hand in each small step until I had my confidence. And the reason why I've been able to help thousands and thousands of people all over the world is because of Kathy. But if you're interested in this story, I do have a book. It's at JerryUILLS.com. It's an ebook, and it's the whole story. It's called Fantastic Journey, The Prophecy. So you can read that if you're interested in knowing more about it, because there's a lot more details that I haven't talked about.
So she inspired you to be yourself, like to do what you want to do. So it's like to understand for why are you here, are you being here?
I was inspired to be myself as a result of the meeting with those 7 people. But I had no confidence. I was still afraid inside to make any proclamations or to become public. I was doing everything in private and very secretive. She gave me the confidence. She's a very strong woman. And she gave me the confidence and the courage to become the person that I am now. If it wasn't for her, I don't know what I'd be doing.
Anyway, it's a great idea that you meet together and you had a prediction with this. I guess she is wonderful because she make this kind of realization of your trip on the earth. Your wife Katie was a kind of evidence with your meeting of aliens or with your pass through the portal, a kind of story which I noticed about it. Could you tell us something more about this event?
The Aymara shaman that I was telling you about, his name was Pedro. We became friends after this, as you might imagine. Good friends. He told me that there was this place in southern Peru near Lake Titicaca. There was a mystical doorway that the ancient ones would come out of it and go back through it again, and that he had watched it many times. And when they would come to move through it, they would make these songs, he said. They'd make these songs. And so I asked him, well, what does it sound like? He says, well, I'll tell you, but don't tell anyone else. So I agreed. And he told me that the song, it's like 3 different tones. So I thought that was very interesting. I went down to southern Peru. I found this place. It's a very strange place. It's called Aramu-Murru, although now that it has some notoriety, the locals or the government has given it another name, but it's still, to me, the doorway of Aramu-Murru. Aramu-Murru is the king that lived off of the on the what is the name of that continent? Anyway, he was a king long ago, and when the continent was sinking, it's not Atlantis, it's the other one in the Pacific, Lemuria. When it was sinking, they left there and they came to the Andes, and his wife and him, they set up 2 different places. The doorway for Aramu-Murru is there on the shores of Lake Titicaca, and Aramу-Murru was a place for the children and for teaching higher science and mathematics deeper into the Andes on the eastern slope of the Andes. Aramu-Murru is on the western side, central and western side of the Andes. Well, anyway, this doorway is the doorway of Aramu-Murru. And when I got there, it was with Kathy, and I told her about this before. We'd only been married for a short time. We went there with the idea that I would go there at night and I would make these tones. I want to see what happens. It was a moonless night, and even with no moon, the stars are so bright you can still see features very easily once your eyes adjust. I have on this big white down-filled coat because it's very cold. We're at 13,000 feet and it's cold. So we're there with some of our passengers, and I'm going to go do this thing with the tones. I don't think it's real. It's a great story. I go up to the doorway. I kneel in front of it. I put my head in the little notch that's there, and I start making these tones over and over and over. At some point, it feels like you're dreaming and you're falling. And it's very, very uncomfortable. So my intention was to see God. I didn't know what else. I want to visit the Creator. That's it. That's what I want to do. So I start putting that intention in there, start making the tones again. And suddenly I feel like I'm falling again, only this time I'm just tumbling. and it feels crazy. It's scary. I don't know what to think about it. My eyes are squeezed shut. I don't know what's happening. And I'm traveling through space. When I open my eyes, I'm looking and traveling through space. Well, for Kathy, she was sitting a short distance away, maybe 8-9 meters. What she saw was that I was making the tones, and then I started to glow, and I glowed a little more brightly, and then poof, I was gone. She couldn't believe her eyes, so she got up to go look. I wasn't there. Other people who were there, they saw this also. Eventually, I came back to the doorway and I came out again. And when this happened, Kathy, of course, is very upset. We just got married, and now she's crying, and she's not very happy about the fact that I just vanished. Which sounds crazy, but it, you can imagine how uncomfortable that would be. But then there was another glow, and then I was back again. And I came off the doorway. I laid down on the ground. She came up to see me. She said, "You vanished." I said, "Yeah, I know. Tell me all about it." I said, "No, not right now. I got to think about this." And so we had to walk about a half a mile to get to the bus that brought us there. We had a private bus. We went back to Tittikaka Hotel in Puno, and I started telling her all about it when we got back to the room. And it was a bit of a frightening thing. I've been back there many times since. I won't use the 3 tones anymore, because what I discovered is you don't know how to navigate this. There's no steering wheel. You just jump on and it just goes, and God help you, because you might not come back. I was lucky.
But you return back because you stop singing, or what's how you?
No, I returned back because I told the people where I got to that I needed to get back because Kathy was waiting for me. I'd been with these people for hours, talking with them, and it was like, wait a minute, how long have I been here? Oh my God, it's really cold where Kathy is, and I'm sure she's really worried. I've got to get back. How do I do that? So they told me and helped me to get back. When I got to the doorway, it looked clear, but it was like this. I could not get through. It was solid, but it was clear. So I had to start making the tones again. And when I did, I fell back through the doorway and I was back. It was frightening.
So the same tone you're using to come back, and for Katie, does she spend about an hour waiting for you, or the time was shorter for her?
It was only a few minutes for her.
Few minutes.
Yeah, it was only a few minutes, but for me, it was maybe 1 or 2 hours.
And could you tell us shortly what are you understand being on the other side? What is that? And does the Earth has a kind of gates some more?
There are these gates all over the earth. You can go like from Peru to Russia instantly, or you can go from Russia to Mars instantly, or Russia to some other dimension or galaxy instantly. These gates are all over the place, and you have to know how to navigate this. There's no information. I just got lucky. I went someplace where they could tell me how to get back, because if there was nobody there, I wouldn't be here right now. And that's what scares me.
You think that it's dangerous thing because you are not able to go back if you don't know how to navigate or how to use it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You could jump in a gate and go, and then you have to find, do the same tones work for this new gate? And do I use them? And where do I go after that? You don't know how to steer this. There's got to be a way of doing it, but I don't know how it is.
Do you have any idea who built this kind of gates? Who managed?
I'm not sure. The people that I talked to said that it had been built by the ancients, the ancient people, the ancient ones, and that they had built it so that they could travel throughout the cosmos and throughout the various dimensions of the universe.
Who was the people with whom you talk something about to be on the other side?
I don't know who they were. They said they were scientists.
Ah, so possibly aliens? No.
Probably to us. I was the alien on their world at that point.
Did you ever try to find out other gates or other information about the gates, or you just close this part of your...
No, Kathy and I have been looking for other gates. We know there's some in Russia. We know there are some in Turkey, one at least. There's one I know about in Ecuador. There's one in, southern New Mexico or western Texas. They're all over the place.
I had information that you were born in Tau Ceti star system. What is the story about it? What can you say something about the earliest time and your pathway to the Earth?
Well, I only know what I've been told, and this was told to me by Zoe.
Ah.
The earliest memories, they incorporate vague memories of this, but Zoe is the one who told me that.
So I have some questions about what's going on with the soul or with the spirit of the human when the body died. So what's going on next? Do you have information about it?
Well, I can only tell you from my own experience and from what I've seen, because you remember I see quite a bit. When you die, the first thing that happens is that some people call it a life review, and I suppose it is. But you get to experience who you were, rather. You get to experience yourself through the eyes of the people that you had interactions with. So if you were a bad person, you're going to see how bad you really were through other people's eyes. If you're a good person, you get to see that too. Everyone has elements of good and bad. So there isn't, it isn't very lopsided for most people. For some people who are evil, yeah, it's very lopsided. After this, you go to a place which is, I don't know what it is. You're there and you see the world and you can talk to other people, but you're not in a body. You're like a ghost, I suppose. And then after this, depends. But for most people, there's someone who shows up. And sometimes it's more than one person. And they'll take you to the next place, into the light. It's up to you if you go to the light or not. Some people choose not to. Most people go to the light. And this is where you heal and grow and evolve as a soul. And eventually, you might decide to come back. And when you do, you're born into a body. It might be male or female. And you start the process all over again. And when you do, you forget about everything that happened before. It's a brand new life, brand new experiences, and you go through life until it's the end. Then, every time you have a life, you learn more. The more lives you have, the more you learn, the more you retain, knowing intuitively that a good thing that you do for other people is never wasted. And the bad things you do to people are never forgotten. They're never forgotten by you. And that's the lesson that you learned.
Can you give an advice how to hear your soul, how to make your consciousness much better during the living on the earth? Do you have a kind of advice for these questions?
Then the thing that you have to remember is that you have consciousness and you have awareness. They're not the same thing. Consciousness is like you have a light that comes on in a room. And the brighter the light, the more conscious you are. But awareness is being able to notice that you are in a room and see the details. That's awareness. So if you want to evolve and become greater than you have been, the way you do that is to become more aware. Because if you're awake, you're already conscious. So now it's time to become more aware. And how do you do that? Well, it's a good question. Because there are so many different people who have different ideas on how this can happen. And there's no absolute answer about this. When you get a little bit more aware, at that point, you can become even more aware. Awareness grows, it evolves. It's a journey, and it isn't a fast journey for some. Most people, it isn't a fast journey at all. And for some, it takes many lifetimes. But the more aware you become, the more aware you can become. And if you get aware to a very high degree, you can walk across the floor and not step on the little stone that hurts your foot because you're aware of it before you get there. Awareness just keeps expanding outward in all different ways, and it feeds all of your senses. There's no limit to what it does for you, but you have to start someplace, and becoming more aware a little bit is the best place to start.
There are some sort of questions, I will summarize it, about the technology, about the healing, about some energy for the people. So does our friends, I mean aliens, can share this technology, can give us these examples of how to heal the human for 10 minutes, for example, how to travel through the space, I mean, faster than we can, how to use extra energy for our purposes. So what is your vision? What is your view? Is it possible that we will get some kind of this help, or what's going on?
Well, they're not going to help us until we get to a point to where we can go out beyond this planet. Right there. Because we can't take our problems with us. We have to resolve these issues before we do that. there's too much division. There really is very little unity. I mean, look at Russia, look at China, look at the United States. These are ideologies that need to someday come to a point of being mutually acceptable, understood, and there is no competition. Because out in space, with all these other worlds, if there's a competition for power on this world, it's going to be terrible when you go out there, because the people that want the power here are going to want the power out there even more so. It's not enough to have power over this world. And if they happen to have greater technology on this world than the world that we would go to, then those poor people will be overwhelmed. There will be a lot of death and suffering. So no, sure, they have the technology to do all these things. I've seen it. I know what it is. But until the people in this world can get to a point to where they are civilized and have a common morality, then going out there is out of the question. They're not going to share that technology with us.
How to the people living on the earth to save the earth and yourself?
I don't know. I don't know. I have
Okay.
no idea how the people in this world can save the earth. Let me tell you, there are things that are about to happen on this world that are a bit unpleasant. The earth will save itself. It will. It's done it many times in the past. It's going to do it again soon. And when that occurs, the earth will cleanse itself, renew, and start over again. And the people who are left alive after all of this will start over again also. And the reason why this happens isn't because it's a cycle that can't be changed, because it can be. But the people do not evolve to a point to where they can change it as citizens and keepers of this planet. They just can't. They just never get there, because there's too much greed and avarice and a quest for power. It just won't happen. Well, people have to evolve to a point to where they can do something. Listen, if you had a drought and you wanted to bring rain, you could have 1,000 people to focus on bringing rain. You've seen people who can bend a spoon, right? They just do like this and a spoon just bends right over. One person. Can you imagine if 1,000 people who could bend spoons were to focus on bringing rain? It works. I've seen it happen. Now imagine on a cosmic scale, those things that would cause this planet to basically go through a cleansing process, cataclysms, micronova from the sun, energy sheets from the galactic center. I mean, it all sounds like fantasy, but it isn't. It's very real. What if a planet full of people who were evolved decided that was no longer necessary? Do you think it would happen? No, the planet would evolve again. It would go into another state of being. It could evolve and the people would evolve with it. And not into some imaginary extra dimensional place, into a very real, tangible place. But the people would be directing what happens next as a result of their concern for each other, not because they wanted to dominate each other. And when the world gets to that point, that's when people from this world will truly be able to go out there among the stars and do the serious work that's required to help other worlds to achieve what we ourselves have achieved on this planet that allowed us to get out there among the stars.
Jerry, but you was lucky. You had a chance to going out of Earth during your current life. So, what is your experience in it? Can you share that?
You know, when I went through the doorway, that was very confusing and very frightening. As far as going out from the Earth to other places, I really haven't gone that far.
But you traveled on the spaceship.
Yeah, a couple of times, but just up into the air.
Mm-hmm. How it
Once
was?
to the moon.
How it was?
No sense of movement. I could be watching a movie and feel the same thing. There was no sense of movement at all. It was very, very rapid, quite rapid.
Some people think that they're able to get this kind of technology, like the people have something that aliens can take from them. What do you think about this idea?
Well, maybe so, but good luck, because it's just like the doorway. You know, the doorway works. Not talking about how it works keeps it safe. And the technology that you're talking about, some people say they have it and they want to use it. Sure they do. But I really don't think that they'll be able to successfully leave. You know, there needs to be a renaissance on this world where people actually stop being afraid of each other and start working cooperatively, harmoniously, and start caring about each other. Without that, going out there among the stars, you're just taking your problems with you.
When you've got almost the last contact with your lovely aliens, and do you have a kind of prediction about your next meeting?
No, it happens whenever it happens. I have no control over that, and I have no idea when it would be.
And what about the last meeting?
That would be in Peru when I met up with Rich. And that's been probably 10 years ago.
Have you discussed with the possibility of making documentary with Netflix or kind of this kind of company? It will be a good movie, I guess.
Sure, absolutely. We'll see what happens.
Okay, if you would like to say something for our Russian viewers, please, you have a...
All right, I'll just take a moment to speak to everyone, the viewers here in Russia. I want to thank you for watching. I appreciate you took some time. Time is life, and it's important. So I really respect that you took some time to watch this. My message to you is a very simple one. There's an opportunity for you to become greater than you've ever been, not as a country or as a people, but as a person. There are so many things that you can do to make a difference in the world. The very first step is to care about others, but also to care about yourself. Try to become better than you have been. If you want to have contact, that's who they want to talk to, people who are trying to be the best version of themselves they can be. The future is not about governments. It's not about religion. The future is about one person to another person to another person, and how we can depend upon each other because we would know that we care for each other. So that's my message to the folks in Russia. I want to wish you all the best. And one of these days, I hope that Kathy, my magic and beautiful wife, and I will make it to your country. It's a beautiful place with beautiful people, and we look forward to that time. I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you very much for this interview, Jerry УИЛЛС. We are waiting for you in Russia. Hopefully, we will find out some more gates or special places or special aliens which are waiting for you here in Russia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for the opportunity.